How you doing, Good morning to you. Welcome to the land of the Procter Gamble. My name is Sagamore, and I'm the Sagamore of the House of Seven Royal House Procter Gamble Tribe of Procter Gamble Nation. And we're going to start off this morning as we usually do with a prayer, tobacco prayer. We always start off with prayer, whether it be with the drum, tobacco prayer, and of course, we smudge and walk prayers up there. So we're going to have Harry Hawk, who is the chief, one of the sachems from the Analyze line, and he's going to do a tobacco prayer in our language.
Hello. I'm Harry Hawk Edmonds, sachem of the Procter Tribal Nation. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Tobacco is very sacred to our people, as we all know. We use it in many of our ceremonies. So I would like to offer this sacred tobacco prayer in the language of my people. The language that we were deprived from speaking after the King Philip's War of 1675-1676. My ancestors had to assimilate in order to survive and adapt the ways of the settlers. But we're still here, so our language was taken from us. So I took it upon myself to learn this sacred tobacco prayer in my language. Although my people spoke in different dialects, they were able to understand and communicate with one another. This sacred tobacco prayer is all about honor and respect, which is the native way. And in today's world, the honor and respect is somewhat lost. People, we have to get it back. We've got to start respecting and honoring one another again, especially Mother Earth, where we all came from and where we're all going back to one day. So if I could get everybody to stand, remove their hats. I will also offer the sacred tobacco prayer in the English language, so you've understood what I've communicated to you all. The sacred tobacco prayer is called Nepitan. I pray. I will begin. Katatuit Nuwadi Uitamar. Aki Numadi Uitamar. Okamus Nupasha Numadi Uitamar. Uchichi Kiriasan Nupaus Numadi Uitamar. Tubatianway. Numadi Uitamar or Nashikaki. Wakanayu. Sowanayu. Patanayu, Nanamayu, Tabatianawayan, Nuwachi, Wami, Nitampo, Nay, Pamaninache, Nay, Pamapachi, Papanashi Wam, Medakak Wash Maski Tosh, Nemosa, Aquitianamu, we, Chininabache. Atuk, Mas, Makwashin, Tunapasab, Sasaso, Wudagash, Katagawit, Numagni, Owitamar. Great Spirit, I offer this tobacco. Mother Earth, I offer this tobacco. Grandmother Moon, I offer this tobacco. Grandfather's son, I offer this tobacco. I thank you. I offer this tobacco to the four directions, to the east, to the south, to the west, to the north. I thank you for all my relations, the Winged Nation, the Creek leaping, crawling nation, the four-legged nation, the green and growing nation, and all things living in the water. Honoring the clans, the deer, the bear, the wolf, the turtle, the snipe, and the rabbit. Great Spirit, I offer this tobacco. I thank you for all being here today in the land of the Poconoke. This is our land. It'll always be our land. We're still here, and we thank you people for what you're doing for us. Ayuta!
Ayuta was a battle cry during the King Philip War. Analog, our great-grandfather, 10 generations, reserved our out to the troops. Ayutas, stand firm and fight. And that was right here on the front. As I said before, cats. No, you can't sneak it. As I said before, my name is Paul Walby Neopog, and I'm the representative of Massasoit Osinico, 10th generation great-grandson. And I'm the 9th generation great-grandson of King Philip, Metacama, King Philip, known historically the King Philip Wars. And my 6th generation great-grandfather is Simeon Simon. I don't have a podium here. I have a book that shows you the pictures and so forth, so on. But it's a little hard for me to do that and speak to you at the same time. But Simeon Simons was George Washington's bodyguard. And when he came to Patchogue, Connecticut to take over the revolutionary forces, my great-grandfather, Simeon Simons, out there wrestling with all his men, called him in, he wanted to know who he was. And he went that day with him, George Washington, to become a Continental soldier, receive the pension as a Continental soldier. And after the Revolutionary War, he went to live with George Washington for 2 years before returning back to Connecticut and raising a family. That's King Philip, or Metacama's great-grandson. So that's my line coming out. That's on my mother's side. My father's side is Animal. It was my great-grandfather, 10 generations. So I'm looking on both sides of my family. The first exploits to land within the Poconoke realm was in 1502 by a Portuguese captain named Miguel Cordeiro. And I guess it was 1524 when Verrazano came here. There's the Verrazano Bridge over in Newport. And he recorded his captain log a latitude of 41 degrees 40 north, which put a right parallel to the seat of the Massasoit, which is going to be, that's one of the places we're going to be cleaning today. That's right on his property there. And he recorded in his captain's log about the inhabitants on the shore here. He said they were the goodliest people he had ever seen, because they were always raising their hands to the Creator and giving thanks to the Creator for all that he had done for them. And to this day, I am not the Powers. The Powers has had a stroke, and his replacement right now is working today, so he's busy. But we always start off with prayer to our Creator. And of course, the tobacco here, and the drummer here, there's a song which was written by my cousin Tabaki Uchi, in which we sing praise to the Creator. Before we do anything, we always open with prayer. And so, like I said, 1524, that was Verrazano came here. It was almost 100 years later when the Pilgrims came to these shores. And Osinico was the name of the Massasoit who welcomed him. A lot of people thought that Massasoit was his name. His name was Osinico, which is yellow feather in our language. And yellow feather was the signer of the first peace treaty with the Europeans. It lasted like 54 years. And that was done right here He lived right here in this area, Solons. Solons is, today is Barron and Bristol, but at the time of Massasoit, Solons was, I don't know if people from New England area, but it was Rehoboth, Swansea, Seacon, East Providence, which was part of Seacon now. At that time, it was part of Seacon, Barron and Bristol. In 1747, Massachusetts ceded what is known today as Solons to Rhode Island. So that is Bristol County, Rhode Island. At that time, Massasoit was Bristol County, Massachusetts. The King Philip War, King Philip was killed right on his property here. I'm just going to give you a brief synopsis of the history here. And he was actually betrayed by one of his own people. And they led him into the Great Swamp, which is another area. I think we're going to be doing the monument also to the King Philip. Are we going to be doing that also? No? Are we going to be cleaning around the monument?
The seat.
No, just the seat. Okay. King Philip was killed right on his property here. He was beheaded. And they quartered his body. He was never buried. And so there's a memorial here on this man here to King Philip. They put his head, they hung on the pole in Plymouth, at Plymouth Plantation for 25 years as an example. And often on the road was told that you stay in your place and we take your head off, just like we did Philip. But that wasn't the only one of our chiefs whose head they took off. They took off Widowmoon. Widowmoon was the squaw sachem of the Macassan tribe, and she was married to one son. It was King Philip's brother, or Metacom. I should use Metacom. A lot of people know King Philip War. They know who Metacom was, but they're the same people. Warm Sutter was actually Philip's brother. He was married to Widowmoon, who was the squaw sachem of the Macassan tribe. And then Metacom was married to her sister, who was Wantanusa. That was my great-grandmother, 9 generations. And so the history, of what happened to Philip was really sad. That it was actually someone of the Macassan tribe that betrayed him and led the Benjamin Church and the colonists onto this property, because they would have never found him on this property at that time. It was so dense with trees and plant life. They would have never been able to find him. But it was about 2 weeks before that they took and they captured his wife and his son, Meton, and they were sold into slavery to Bermuda. Most of our people were sold into slavery, but if they couldn't sell them, then they executed them. They turned them over to the government to be executed. So basically, our chiefs, there was Amy, who was Metacom's sister, and he was the chief of the Sagamore tribe, the Sagamore, and they beheaded him. They beheaded Analon. Analon, they weren't supposed to behead. He was in his 80s when they killed him. They called Benjamin Church up to Boston, and he went up there. The colonists, they just beheaded Analon, who had escaped this property and was caught over in Rehoboth. And Analon was a place they called Analon's Rock. And what else did they behead? They beheaded Philip. Widowmoon. Most of our chiefs, they beheaded the ones that they caught. And if they couldn't sell us into slavery, they executed it. So it's been quite a while before we were able to come off and say who we were. Because even as a child coming up, I remember bragging to my friends when I was just back in the 40s about, being a representative of Metacom. My parents go in the house and they feared for my life. They told me not to talk about that. You're never to say you're poor. You say you're walking alone, but you're not to say you're poor. Because they feared for my life. Even Princess Reagan, I don't know if any of you come from Rhode Island. There's a mural in downtown Providence on the garage. It's about 3 stories high. It's called Indian Princess. It's been on the news. She was a chief before me. That's my mother's first cousin. Because in Pocono tribe, we had many chiefs. And I have a council of chiefs from different family lines. One would be the Massasoit brother. 4 carriers from Anawan's line. I have one from Amy's line. And one from Phillips line. And I'm listing some of them. But we have a council of chiefs. We don't have what the government requires to have the president and vice president and secretary and so forth and so on. We have a council of chiefs. That's tradition. So basically, you asked me to talk a little bit about why we want federal recognition. We back in 2015. Well, 2015, I think it was 2013, we created a fund. I don't know if you ever heard of fund, which is the Federation of Aboriginal Nations of the Americas. And I'm the superior chief of that organization. We represent over 7,000 Indians down the East Coast, all the way from New England, all the way to the state of South Carolina. And we've signed peace treaties with Hawaii, the King of Hawaii, and the nations up in Canada. We are the original inhabitants of the land. We do not want federal recognition because when you get federal recognition, they've actually taken away your aboriginal rights. And this is why we don't pursue that. If I want to do business with the foreign government, I don't need the United States government's permission to do it. I can do this. If I am federally recognized, I'm still under the authority of the state and the federal government of the United States. So this is one of the reasons why we do not pursue federal recognition. I'm not required to have a Social Security number. I'm not supposed to pay taxes anywhere in this country. We are fighting all the time. All of those laws that they made, you're going to federally recognize child when they made the law. We actually come under Article 3 of the Constitution of the United States. So those laws were actually written for the tribes that were here at that time. They weren't federally recognized. They sold us a bill of goods. They've taken away our aboriginal rights, and they made us what you call Native Americans. The Native American does not have to have Indian blood in it. And I use the term Indian because I come back before it wasn't offensive to me. If you're born in this country, you're a Native American. I don't care if you're Irish, English, or what your nationality is. So what they've actually done is taken away the aboriginal rights. And this is why we're not pursuing federal recognition. So I have over 7,000 members in FANA that we represent going down the East Coast of the United States. Right. As far as the term Malcolm Law is concerned, when the English came to this country, this whole area was known as Pocono country or King Philip country today. Our territories went all the way down to Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard Island, Lizard Island, all the way to New York State, which is east of the Hudson River, Scatterpick Fall. In fact, one of the chiefs up there is from my family line. He's a scientist from the Reading Science line. He's a scientist, but if you go up to southern New Hampshire, and this is acknowledged by the different authorities here in this country, the Smithsonian, they're actual, it's in the archives, it's schools like Harvard, Brown, Yale. These maps, they're not prior to the King Philip War, 1675, century out of Pocono. The name Pocono came about during the King Philip War. What happened is the African were Pocono. If you were male 14 years of age or older, and you said you were Pocono, they kill you on sight. So you didn't say you were Pocono, you had to survive. And this is one of the things that we did. They said, well, we're not. There's no more Pocono. Well, you weren't going to say you were Pocono. They started calling us Malcolm Law. Malcolm Law means Eastern. The tribes from Delaware, they refer to the tribes over here as Easterns. And that's what the term walk really means. It was reserved for the tribes that fought with Philip against the colonists. So if you didn't fight against the colonists with Philip, then you don't really deserve yourself police. There were tribes that call themselves the law. They're not really law. They're actually still part of the old nation. Right? So this is basically how the term law come around. And you can check, I have all this information, like I said, I just can't show it to you. Massachusetts Archaeological Society will tell you right now. It's ironic that they call themselves Buffalo, but they didn't fight the King for the war. So you get these tribes calling themselves Buffalo, they're really part of our nation. They're part of the old Procter nation. 2015, I took back Procter nation, and everything changed as far as the government system, and that's when they started giving me health care to my tribe. I don't have to recognize the health care. They were supposed to be giving us that all along. They sold the bill of goods. And so basically, these are the things that I would want to do. If I want to open up a bank account, I don't need a social security number. So I'm fighting the banks. These are the laws that are out there. People are aware. And so basically, that's why I'm doing the things I'm doing, you know, and I'm just, I am, like I said, I'm the superior chief, but I have a director general, we have an international ambassador, representatives at the United Nations, so on and so on. And we are slowly gaining the things that they were supposed to, they were designed for the original inhabitants, which is what an American Indian is. If you look at those laws, they'll talk about the American Indian, they'll talk about the Alaska Native, and somewhere down near the end of that, the last one they'll talk about the Native Americans. So that's why we don't want to be Native Americans. And so that's just a little bit of history of what the Pocono tribe is doing today. Right? Any questions? If you have any questions, I'll answer your questions. I probably go off track here, but we have over 7,000 members down the East Coast of this United States, or down to South Carolina. Right? I don't keep track of all of that. Like I say, I have director general, I have an ambassador, director of commerce, all the different departments. Because of my heritage, it asked me to be the security chief of the farm. So we are representative organizations. The tribes, Pennsylvania, New York, that area, New Jersey, and so forth. Go all the way down, like I said, to South Carolina. I just can't.
Right.
Any other questions?
Well, we have the logo on the back of our shirts. You talk about the star of the seven crescents.
The star of the seven crescents. See, that's usually the powers that does that. When George Washington came to Patchogue, Connecticut, that's one of the things that that Simeon Simon showed George Washington on a deerskin, which is all he had left from his passed down to him. It was the star of the seven crescents. Now the seven crescents were not the colors of the rainbow, but we know that that's what they, meant. The seven crescents actually represented the crescents of the rainbow. And so he showed that to George Washington. He said, my mind is a closed book. He couldn't talk about it because he knew that he could be killed if he did. And so basically, each one of those colors represents something. Yellow is the creator, and orange is the color of life. Let me see, we have blue in there, which is the color of the earth. Green is the color of plantation, and then you mix the yellow and blue, the green is color of vegetation, and then the last color is purple, which is the Great Mission. You mix all the colors and make purple, and that's the Great Mission. But that's what he showed George Washington that day. My line is full of trophies, and I can't talk about that because he was afraid that he would be killed. And I don't have that on me. We actually have, there it is back there. Here's the sign. He has a shoe. That's how I was sitting there. How you doing? This cat. How you doing? Good. That's the council Sagamore House. One of our, president, who's the chief before me, she died in 1988. She was the first Indian to speak at the United Nations in its infancy in 1946. She spoke at the United Nations. She was first a pen pal with Eleanor Roosevelt, and she's actually in the Rhode Island Heritage Hall of Fame, which is a hard act for me to follow. And you know, we had many woman chiefs in our nation, and some of the woman chiefs were more feared than the men. And Weedham was one of them. All right, of the Picasses, and there was also Assams out there in Little Compton, who was actually the Massasoit Scouts. Most of the chiefs, they married chiefs' daughters, chiefs' sons. And, you know, there was a caste system. You know, it wasn't said. They didn't just marry anyone. And so basically, I'm related to a lot of the people in these other tribes because of that. You know, the chief's man, chief's daughter, and so on and so forth and so on. So basically, this is Rhode Island small community. And at one time, you knew everybody in Rhode Island until, you know, I guess the 60s when things started, you know, to change around here. But basically, at one time, you knew who was who in the zoo. Basically, everyone's family, related somewhere or another, because, you know, I'm related to the chief of the Narragansett. You know. Any other? Yes.
So you said you were part of the United Nations. I have kind of a two-part question.
We're represented in the United Nations. Yeah.
Oh, you're represented.
Yes.
So when did you guys start being represented out there, and what does it mean to you?
We started going to the United Nations in 2014, I think it was, 2014, which is when we decided we weren't going to pursue federal recognition. And what was the second part of the question?
Like, what does it mean to you guys to be a part of that?
For a while, it didn't mean anything because it takes a while to really get on the agenda, and I just thought it was a waste of time. And since then, we've made some headway. And we have an ambassador, actually it's Ron Holloway from the Napi tribe nation who represents, he's our international ambassador. And since then, we've signed peace treaties with the King of Hawaii and also with the nation of Canada. You know, but we have indigenous people because at one time there was a father represented America, and we changed it to Americans because we represent indigenous people. So we have like, you know, all over, we represent indigenous people. We have 2 tribes from Puerto Rico and 1 from the Dominican Republic, which are indigenous, because they actually did to them before they did to us. You know, what they did to us, they just refined it. Any other questions?
Talk about the native language and the state of the native language and the relation to language.
Well, one of the things that we lost was our language. And so basically, there are tribes, thank you, my son wrote past me, there are tribes down the Cape that have gotten grants to take in, you know, revive the language. I think the Mashpee or put it or something. The language is, the Algonquin language is spoken all the way down to the state of Delaware. And I guess it's different dialects, it's like the French, you know, different, but we understood each other. enough, you know, so that they were able to communicate at that time. So basically, there was someone down there, I think she ran.
Yeah, just you didn't know.
That's what yeah.
Walking that language.
Right.
The language that people spoke.
Right.
It's being taught by the,
But we, the last person that I tried to speak the language was Fisher. My cousin, Donald Fisher. He passed away. Me, I would be in deep trouble. I speak better French than I speak Albanian. It is.
A lot of times we get asked, well, how do you get your native name? We get that asked at a lot of the schools we go to where people want to know why they call me Hawk. Well, they call me Hawk because I played basketball for East Providence High School, and I made a lot of clutch shots at the end of the game to win the game, and they started calling me the Hawk. So in my language, it's Kwanunin, which is Hawk in the Algonquin language. My brother Braveheart, he's a Korean vet. He's got a college bound in his aorta. So he's got a brave heart, so we named him Braveheart. My mother named him Braveheart. Connected with heart in the language. So that's how we got his name. He's 87 years old, and I'm 86 years old. In Indian country, they call us the brothers. We are the brothers, we're not twins, but he's my elder. And I totally respect him, believe me. But we still kick it up in the circle of life where we're all connected to keep our culture alive and well. And as again, I thank you folks for what you do, because you help support what we do. And as the sachem says here, the Sagamore, he says, Ayutas, which is our war cry. And every day when my kids leave the house, or they call me on the phone, I leave them with, Ayutas, Ayutas, stand firm, fight, don't ever give up. And I say that to you people here today as well, don't ever give up. Ayutas. Did I get an Ayutas?
Any other questions?
I know you guys aren't seeking your federal recognition. What does that hold you back from?
What does that hold us back from?
Yeah, is there anything that they prohibit because you're not seeking that, or?
Well, we have to take and actually read the laws of that, because they're trying to deny you everything. And basically, they try to deny us the health care. We took a record. No, that's not what that says. It's not how that's, it's not my understanding of what this here says. I mean, oh, you're right. But if you take and walk away, they're just as happy if you walk away and not pursue it. So actually, the sky's the limit. Because like I said, the laws were written for they weren't even trying to recognize tribes at that time. You know, when you stop to think about Article 3 of the Constitution of the United States, that's what we actually come under. Anything that they've written since then, you know, any addendas that they put to that, I don't know what years it was done, but when back in 1776 they were working on the Constitution, so they weren't even trying to recognize tribes. There was no such thing. You know, so basically the laws, basically those laws were meant for us. And so this is what we had to do. The same thing with the Social Security, for instance. We met with the Social Security Department, you know, and with the COVID and whatnot, we do a lot of things virtually, which I don't like doing, but we've done it. We've met with the Social Security in Washington, right here at the Providence office. We met with the officials up there, and we told them, you know, well, we're not required to have Social Security numbers. And they said, yeah, we know that. And, well, we want the information. Oh, we have that information. They said, that's in our archives. We haven't used that for years. They said, we'll get that to you. But there was someone at the beach who kept looking back. They were looking back at this person, and they turned around and said, yeah, you're right. We'll get you that. And we never got the information. All right? So they know that we're not required to have Social Security numbers. They were just a mean, but that would identify you for income tax purposes. We're not supposed to be paying taxes on this land. Anywhere we go on this land, we're not supposed to be paying taxes. It all started here. This is where it all started. It didn't start out west. There was no western frontier. when the United States got to 1776, this is what you had. The whole side of here, this densely populated area, Solomon was the most densely populated area in the New World. And so basically, this was just right here in this area here, that they thought the soil was so rich. You know, they talked and wrote back to the king, oh, the soil is great, so forth, for farming, so forth, so on. And they just took the land from us. There isn't a clear title to any land here in Solomon, because when they killed King Philip, they had what you call a turf and twig ceremony where they broke a twig off the nearest branch, picked up a part of it, and gave it to this consortium of three, I think it was Warley, I can't remember the name, but with three men from Boston, and that's how they turned the land over. King Philip was dead. No one in my family ever signed or gave up any Aboriginal rights. So these are the things that we actually, I've had a lawsuit, I just haven't pursued it, but that comes under Article 3 of the Constitution. So if I pursue that there, I wouldn't go to Supreme Court. I have to sit before an Article 3 judge, and they know this. And when I first set them up there, this was back in 2015, the judge, Supreme Court judge that was going to hear my case, sent back my petition, my lawsuit, and because it was some place where I forgot to put my signature, and they were going to hear my case. They got rid of it. They come up with some charges on this judge back in 1972. They got rid of the judge, all right? And so I was appointed another judge to hear my case, and she was stalling my case. So I accused her of stalling my case. They put it through, they signed the number. What I didn't know at that time was there were only two Article 3 courts in the United States I fought. One was in Hawaii, and the other was in Washington. But they didn't have Article 3 judges in Hawaii. They would have to send the judges over there. They sent it back here to Rhode Island, and what I didn't understand is they do have Article 3 court here in Rhode Island. They do have a mistake, and they do have Article 3 judges. We were given the wrong information. So I didn't pursue it. All right, but I still have it. They did assign me a number once I accused the judge of stalling my case because this person that was going to hear my case had been on that Supreme Court for like 20 years. And all of a sudden, I said, you mean to tell me that this gentleman didn't know what he was doing? So they assigned a number, and I got here to Rhode Island, they assigned a number, and I didn't pursue it. There were some other things that went on with some of the other people that fought it, were pursuing it, going along the same lines, and basically, I didn't pursue it. Let's put it that way. But it is still pursued, because they're actually supposed to take in players for the land that they took from us, and they haven't done that. This is a case that they just won up in Canada. I think last year, the year before last, and no, it was a few years ago. They settled the case up there, but the government wasn't paying them. Then I think it was last year or the year before last, there was a nation up there that got over 3,000 acres of land. 300,000 acres of land, because they just took the land from them. It was just what they've done, and if they were to do that today, the world would be outraged. Basically, what they did to us is they tried to annihilate people. They want to talk about reparations, and they should be talking about reparations to the Native Americans. We were here first. Basically, we were here first. Any other questions? You ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right.
Awesome. Hey, thank you so much.